we want to unveil our top scholars for the week. So for this week, we have these top scholars that I see here. We have one person, I think one or two persons that didn't give us their photos and their information, so we couldn't have them on this slide. So we have Angeline Mwangi. So let's update these people on the chat box. Let's give them some cheers and let's get to see the virtual claps and all that. So we have Angeline Mwangi, we have Victor Guia Ayango, we have Zaniel Malalela, we have Sandile Silonguyani. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name rightly. Really sorry about that. So we also have Marie Clay, and then we have Jonathan Willow, we have James Agua, we have Malahedi Florence, and then we have Kenneth Kitinji. Till now, we still have Kenya dominating this top scholars list. Like, they really do not want to give other people the chance. Oh, I think we should start fighting to become top scholars as well, so that we don't have Kenyans everywhere. They really dominated this week as well. So quickly, let's just quickly go to the speaker session so that we have ample time to be able to discuss the business of the day. So quickly, I want to introduce our first speaker for today, and then it will come and talk to us. Remember that his topic is still adaptation and mitigation strategies in production. So he's going to be talking to us as production is concerned. So we have next Abanabakize. I'm sure that you did not get it right, but then Mr. Ernest, forgive me. Ernest is an international development enthusiast who believes in developing a new culture to leverage strengths and values that inspire transformational change and provide opportunities that place people at the center. He has special interest problems associated with climate change, women's economic empowerment and food security, agriculture and natural resource management through technical and social innovations. He has designed and coordinated a lot of initiatives related to capacity building, training programs, development and research action, promotion in areas of climate change adaptation, planning, food security, and women's economic empowerment. Africa and North America in research and policy analysis. He's the co-founder at Agri Research Rwanda, the organization promoting digital and market-oriented agriculture in Rwanda. He's currently working as an independent consultant to develop nature-based solutions and data-driven decision-making frameworks in agriculture. So with a virtual clap, let's welcome Ernest to the virtual podium. And then I want to see you all clap and let's welcome Ernest and appreciate the fact that eventually we got to have Ernest on the call. I know that most of you have agitated for Ernest to come, and here he is today. So thank you so much, Ernest. If you're on the call, please, over to you. I'll just mute myself so that you can take up from here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Patience, and thank you very much, everybody. It's
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's a privilege and honor to to be with fellow young people that we are. Matters that affects our lives and affects our worlds all together. So I'm so happy to be part of this platform, and I'm very happy to be learning from all of you as much as I do share with you what I also probably a little bit of what I know from my experience. Like Patience just introduced, I have had a chance to work in this sector for almost now 10 years from 2016. And that's across Africa and different countries. I've worked in Ghana, in Rwanda, in Senegal, and in Uganda and in Kenya, and have had a chance to work here in Canada as well, where I am for now, in Haiti, and other parts of North America. I understand today is not going to be really a presentation because I think a lot of discussion about crop product adaptation and mitigation potential of climate change, in crop production has been discussed a couple of weeks ago, but due to other engagement, I was not able to be part of the discussion. But I also understand that some people, while going over the materials I've prepared last year, they have some, discussion, some feedback. And that's why I'm here today, for us to have that discussion and feedback. And if there's some questions that you guys have, I might be able to provide answers as much as I can. Before we jump into, a few questions or any feedback you might have, because in my slides, in my training materials, I talk about a lot about, mitigation, adaptation of climate change effects. And, I give some practical case studies, of where things are happening. And I try as much as I can to also, talk about some challenges that we have. And quickly, let me just show you this before we go to, some few questions that you might be having. Oh, what's this? Sorry, I hope I should be able to share. Very good. Yeah, so as I mentioned, this is not really going to be a presentation per se, because as Patience already introduced, so you guys have gone over my materials and my training materials and my notes, and I'm going to just introduce this by really talking about what do we talk about mitigation and adaptations? What are we even talking about? And is there a difference? There are similarities. Do we do one or not the other? Are they exclusive terminologies, or should we combine both in our activities? Because I believe I'm talking to farmers or aspiring farmers, and how does it change in different contexts? That's what we're going to be discussing for the next few minutes that I have, and hopefully I will receive your feedback and your questions. So when we talk about mitigation, as we all know, climate change is here. There's no, some people will try to deny anyways. As we speak, there's some people who still believe that climate change is a hack, or is something that people have made up. But I don't know the proper name to give that. Looking at the lives that we are losing on a daily basis, looking at the properties that people are losing, looking at the effects on a daily basis in different countries, you see floods, you see increased droughts all over the world. You see all type of calamities really happening. You see pollution all over the world happening, and you still can't see or can't accept that we need to change our ways of life. That's ridiculous. So now that we know that climate change is here and it's affecting our lives, it's affecting our production, it's affecting agriculture in different ways, in different contexts, how do we mitigate it? How do we adapt to that? Usually what people mostly do is adaptation, because adaptation is saying, okay, something has happened, but I'm not gonna die. What do I do? How do I readjust, to these things, to this problem? How do I change my life so that my economic, so that my family, so that my environment is not that much hurt? So that's what adaptation is. So you are acting in response to the problem. In fact, you are dealing with the consequences, but really you are not solving the actual problem, because you're not going to the root cause. You are just fighting the consequences. And I'll give you an example when we talk about adaptation. For example, we're talking about when we talk about agriculture in Africa, for example, we've seen a lot of advance in developing seed varieties that are tolerant to droughts, what they call drought-resistant crops, for example. That's an adaptation. You're saying, well, I know there's going to be drought, the sun is too much, it's going to stay longer, but what do? I go in the lab, I do some genetics or some biotechnology, and I do drought-resistant crops that are able to stand out or to stand up no matter level of the sun or the level of the droughts occurring. That's adaptation, right? Whereas mitigation, you attack the roots of the problem. You try to reduce the effects or the severance of the occurrence of the greenhouse gas emissions in the air, either by increasing their sink, by ensuring that carbon goes directly into the soil instead of having carbon going into the atmosphere to pollute the environment and to release these greenhouse gas emissions, which are actually cause of most of the problems we are having. And an example of mitigation would be, for example, going to renewable energy or wind or solar energy as opposed to the classic coal mining for energy production. When you have this concept in mind, so mitigation and adaptation, it's going to be very easy to understand any practice or any activities or any implementation strategy that you need to put in place to be resilient to the effects of climate change. So and lastly or finally, you see that in essence, when you talk about mitigation, as I've said, you really dealing with the cause of the climate change, the root cause, whereas adaptation, you are dealing with the effects. And in most of the cases, mitigation is pretty much global because we talk about renewable energy, solar energy, that's pretty much global. But adaptation is local. And you know why adaptation is local? It's because the effects of climate change are not felt the same way across the board. In some areas we have a lot of rains. In some other areas we have droughts. In some other area we have new insects that are occurring because of the type of climate that we actually do have in those areas. So you can see that the adaptation or the steps you are going to be taking will depend exactly on the context on what you have on the ground. So that's why we say it's local. It's not an understatement or anything like that, but it's just a way to say that adaptation has very much to be contextualized. And as you can see, adaptation is short term in character because, like I said, you are dealing with the consequences. You're not fighting the root cause. But mitigation, in many ways, it's a very long term, and you are dealing with the root cause. One more paragraph I want to talk about before I review the floor to the questions is the effects. The challenges we actually do have. I don't want to go into all of these, but I want us to talk about the challenges actually. So the challenges, because because if you read my slides, you've seen that I talk about a lot of practices, a lot of climate smart agriculture practices that need to be put in place for us to be able to mitigate or to actually fight or adapt the effects of climate change. But we have some challenges as to this, and most of the challenges is because when we talk about technologies, the implementation price, to put in place some technologies at the first installments might be somehow expensive, right? But in the long run, when you think about it, it's not going to be very expensive. So you put a lot of money at the beginning, but then over the years, actually, you reduce the cost of your production. This is because you have put in place technologies that allow you to use or to optimize your inputs, right? So you no longer use a lot of fertilizers. You use just what is needed for a particular crop and a particular moment. You use what is just required, for your field and for your crops, as opposed to traditional farmers where they just do things classically, traditionally, without knowing exactly how much and when. Even if they use little amount on a daily basis or regularly, but it's a lot because that's gonna not change over the course of the years, and they don't know when not to use, because it's not always that we need fertilizers. At some point we don't need, or in a particular field, when you apply some technologies such as variable rate application, for example, you know exactly where to focus in your field, where. So you shouldn't be scared by the implementation cost at the first year, you'd rather be concentrating on, how this is going to be beneficial over the course of the years. The next step, or the next challenge, is the lack of skills and knowledge actually to implement some of these technologies that I have proposed in my materials. And that's where young people like you actually comes in very handy, because you have the skills, you have the, what it takes to actually implement these technologies on the ground and take advantage of the digital era that we are in. So, and as you can see, most of the environmental problems, or most of the they are very complex. So you need really consortium. You need to work with different people. You're not going to be able to deal with these challenges alone. You need the government to put in place some good policies that allow you to allow the flow of the activities. You need farmers and farmer cooperatives to adopt the technologies or to adopt it. And you also need business people to have these technologies in place and to be developed so that people can put them in use. In a nutshell, that's what I can say in this on my materials. And without further ado, because I know you have some questions or feedback, or I'll let the floor open for you guys to have the interaction that we need to have, and I will be able to answer to some of your questions and have your feedback on.
Right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Ernest. You've done so much, like great justice to the interaction and all that. So I want to propose that we quickly do the questions for Mr. Ernest, since he's talking about production, before we eventually go into the business of today, so that we don't miss things. So if you agree, let me see yes in the comment section, so that we can quickly take the question and answer for this segment, and then we can continue afterwards. Okay, I think, this is very beautiful. So Mr. Ernest, let me read this. Someone said, anyone who has gone through the slides can attest that the current presenter has very elaborate and detailed slides. Actually, it's my best. So the person is saying you are his best. And if I were to rate the modules, presenters, and all that. So thank you so much, Mr. Ernest. Like I said to you the last time, everybody has been agitating that we come with you for our next presentation. Otherwise, we should not come back again. But thank you so much for availing yourself today. So okay, yes. Okay. So we'll just quickly go over the.
I could see somebody asking for the slides. It seems some people don't have access to the slides. I believe people have access to the materials, I guess. I've seen one of the comments, somebody was asking for the slides.
Is it the slides of what you just showed, or the slides? The slide is actually in the portal. It's actually in the portal for them to download.
Okay.
So okay, so please, if you have a question, or someone has already raised their hand, we'll just quickly go over the questions, because we still have our next facilitators, so that we don't take too much time. Harrison, no, Aris Kalambo. All right, so I'm asking you to unmute and ask your question. Please unmute and ask your question.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, first, just like somebody has commented in the box, it's very true. Now that I was in his presentation, and I was in the module and the portal, it's very rating, and this session is very helping. But I wanted to ask Mr. Ernest that so it's more like it's something that has to do with political will, policies, and the like. So it's more like it's bigger than us. I just wanted to say, maybe, I don't know, in Rwanda or Nigeria, what do farmers like the startups, how do they contribute to the policy? How do they, like, something to do with advocacy? How do they contribute to the decision that are made by policy makers or politicians and the like, especially on something that to do with policy in agriculture? I don't know if my question's clear on that.
Thank you, Harris. I will try to probably, give, if I understood correctly, because the thing is, first of all, because like you said, there's rebels, there's the government, and they have to do their part. There's farmers, they have to do their part. There's private sector, they have to do their part. And there's non-governmental organization, they have to do their parts. So as farmers, as startups, because I believe most of the young people, when they get involved in agriculture, they do it individually, but they can also do as startups. So you first of all need to understand the real problem in your country, in your local area. So when you understand the problem, right? So you understand very well the problem that the farmers are facing, because the problem is a problem. Nobody's going to hide it anyways. So when you have a solution to those problems, because that's where you actually need it. So the much you can do is to come up with a solution to the problems. So, but then the solution you have need to be adapted, sometimes you don't have enough money, you don't probably have enough investment to develop your solution, your technology. But at least you need to come up with a prototype. So when you have the prototype of a problem that is known worldwide, on a country basis, or in your local areas, I'm very sure people are going to look for you. Instead of you looking for people. As long as you have a viable solution to the problems of the farmers, I'm very sure people are going to be looking for you. For example, I told you right now I'm in Canada, but I'm very much involved in agriculture in Rwanda too, because as you can see, I'm a co-founder of a small startup in Rwanda that is actually led by young people in Rwanda. So what we're doing for now, we are building our capacity, we're ensuring that we understand the landscape of agriculture in Rwanda, and I'm very sure when we have the solutions in our hands, people are going to be looking for us, because governments, institutions are looking for people who have solutions to the problems of climate change.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So Aris Kalambo, thank you so much for your question. And Ines, thanks for providing answers to that question. So do we have any other person raising their hand? I can't see anyone yet, but there is a question in the chat box. The person said, if you want to do energy, even waste to energy, can you get a power purchase agreement for at least 9 cents a kilowatt? It's this question. I'm trying to understand the question. Please, Lawrence Kafer asked this question. Maybe you will want to provide more clarification to the question you're asking. If you want to do energy, I'm not sure I got that, or even the facilitator. So thank you so much. Let me quickly check if we have other questions. Okay, so please, we have a problem with small businesses, no capital to mitigate. Yeah, so that's actually a general business issue or problem across Africa, where there is still the will of government and others to be able to provide capital and all of that. So eventually, entrepreneurs will have to synergize, they will have to work together, may probably collaborate and be able to come together to do some big projects, because working, especially for climate smart projects, actually capital intensive. So it's not something that if you don't have good money, you may not be able to implement very well. And Mr. Ernest, would you want to say anything about this?
Yeah, this is very important. So because you see, that's where the issues are. Most of our education systems back home in Africa, they want you to only, let's say if you are doing agriculture, they only want you to study agriculture, crops, I don't know, soil. But then crop and soil alone does not give you money. You need to understand the landscape of business. So, and that's why you see more oftentimes, mentors or people who are, who have had experience will tell you that you need to be networking. You need to have extra knowledge on, on other aspects of the business. So when we talk agribusiness, there's the production part. You need to have the skills, and that's why we go to school. That's why you guys are running here. You can run yourself on Google. You can go to school. But there is those things that they don't tell you about money. You need to know how money works. You need to know how to make good presentation. You need to know how to convince, the investors. And that's not necessarily something you're going to learn on a bench in a school. So you have to take extra, to go beyond what they teach you in a bachelor or master's degree if you want to be an entrepreneur or an agribusiness person, and actually know how to do proper presentation, how to look for money, because that's a separate skill. You're not gonna get that because you have a very good project alone. Having a good project is not gonna give you money. You need to know how to present it. You need to go in the right networks, and you need also to have the understanding of the whole landscape of agribusiness in your local areas.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Ernest. Thank you so much. So, like we've heard, it's not just enough to have a big project. It's another thing to be able to convince people, investors, to invest in your project and all that. So, Lawrence Kefa is finally here to ask the question that you wrote on the chat box. So please, you can go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Yeah.
Please unmute. You're muted. Okay.
There you
yes,
go.
thank you.
How about now?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're involved in Cameroon, in Cote d'Ivoire. We're going to be soon going to CAR, Liberia, mostly West Africa right now for all the projects. But the problem is there's a lot of technology that can solve these problems, right? But technologies need workforce development, but all of that needs money. So then how do you solve the money problem? So there is a couple creative ways that you can get around the money problem. If you want to go to the lenders, you can go to the Islamic Development Bank, the African Development Bank, the Africa Exim Bank. You can go to a couple of your local banks. They have export promotion councils in most countries. You can go to them. They have some funding for some of those things as well. And so most of those, the Africa Development Foundation, the U.S. Africa Development Foundation is the last mile funding type of organization. They have grants to help people get funding ready for larger funders to develop them as a business entity, because the other gentleman was talking about the business side of things. So farming here in the U.S. is a whole different atmosphere. We have a 500-acre farm in Iowa, where we're doing the mechanized thing with the grain, the corn and beans, and the grain silos and things like that. But we're also doing the aquaponics now for climate-proof operations and doing everything indoors. Even livestock can be done indoors. You don't need to do the grazing. You don't need to feed them grain. You feed them this thing called a fodder. You raise it in a hydroponic system. But the reason why I brought up the energy piece, because most agriculture operations need energy. They need water. And so energy can be a resource instead of a expense. If you can do energy properly and produce enough energy to produce back to the grid, if there is a grid. If there's not a grid, then you'll have to talk about distribution and metering as well. But if you have the connections within the country to get a power purchase agreement, and you can get that at least 9 cents a kilowatt hour, then there are people, even within our network, that can fund that so that we can build the power systems. And then from the power system revenues, then we can fund other projects. Another creative way to get funding is if you do a joint venture with the mining operations in countries that have gold and things like that. Because we're leveraging the gold value, not selling the gold. We're not encouraging people to sell UBA Bank to issue the SKRs so that we can then leverage the value of the gold to provide financing for projects. So the gold producers are kind of an investor, sort of a byway to make them an investor in projects, because you really have to get creative, because funding is really tight. Nobody's trying to spend big money on stuff, and they're trying to throw a little bit of money out there for a little bit of stuff, and it's dropping the bucket for what really needs to be done. So that's just my 2 cents, if that's helpful.
No, thank you very
Thank you so much. It's really helpful. For me, right? I gained a lot from all of the contributions I have just given. Thank you so much, Dr. Lawrence. I think I just saw that. Okay, Mr. Ernest, do you have?
I will only add one sentence, because already to add to just what Lawrence said. Thank you very much, Lawrence. And I think there's need of a particular session on how to actually leverage these technologies, these skills that these young people are getting. How do you connect that with the investors? What skills and what actual properties and character do you need to have to put in place to reach these funds? How do you even get in touch with those people who have the money, investors? I think there's need of a particular session. We can't mix these things up because that's already a complicated topic alone. So I would suggest to brace a program to actually invest in that area as well. So after giving these guys this much skills, how do you ensure that they can access the capital they need very badly to implement their good ideas? That's something to think about, Patience.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Ene. So we're actually looking at a post-program session where we'll have some of these even investors and all of some of these trade organizations come talk to participants about how to pitch their businesses and how they can go with all of these things. So we're actually looking at that. So thank you so much, Lawrence. Thank you, Ernest. We have another person raising the hand, Dan Abu. Dan Abu, so please quickly unmute and ask your question.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Yeah,
I would love to, if Dr. Lawrence can come again and maybe expatiate. I would love to, he talked about gold, and we are talking about agriculture here. Someone who has gold, who have access to gold, I think will not be complaining of finance. So I would love to, like, as we are in this program, that they should also be considering the small scale agriculture practitioners, the small scale farmers also. Because I would not want to like say that again, but if you can really expatiate on the modality that they want to say, okay, you have gold and we provide you with finance without them taking the gold away or not buying it, as he said. I would love to really know, because I have gold in my community and I need finance.
all right, thank you. Lawrence, would you want to respond to that? Would you?
You're still on mute, Lawrence.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I couldn't unmute myself. So the process is you could do a joint venture with an existing mining license holder. There are a lot of different minerals in the ground, I know that. But initially it's the gold, because like Zimbabwe has gold, gone to the gold standard. Tanzania is going to the gold standard. I know Sudan and Somalia are looking at going to the gold standard. We talked to the governors of the central banks there. Several other countries were working on a program in Nigeria to do joint venture with like 12 different mining license holders. So if they have a geological survey that's already been done and a document called a 43101, 43-101, that document can be monetized to provide the mining equipment and the refinery, because ultimately you want to be producing gold bars, the industry standard size gold bars at the 5.9 standard. Then those gold bars can be vaulted at the UBA Bank, the United Bank of Africa, because they are an affiliate of the London Bullion Bank. And then the UBA Bank can issue the SKRs, which is safekeeping receipt. And the safekeeping receipt is basically the value of that gold. You can put that safekeeping receipt document on the London Bullion Exchange platform, 10x times the value of the gold. And then from that, then you can also then finance your own bank if you want to, or you can finance your own operations in the country. But the next step would then be to finance a bank, like an industry bank. It would be a gold reserve bank, privately held in the country. Then from that industry bank, you could finance the development of the country. So those are the kind of programs that we're establishing in these different countries to help the people in the country create a trade school to do all the workforce development training for all the different trades needed to rebuild the country, because you shouldn't be bringing companies from outside the country into the country to do the work that the people in the country can do. And so that's the steps. If they already have gold, you can have that gold vaulted at the UBA Bank. They'll verify the purity. If you already have the certificate verifying the purity, then once the UBA Bank gets it, then they could issue the SKR, and we can work through that process like that. So doing the value of the gold, they retain ownership of the gold. The gold never gets sold. They're leveraging the value of the gold, because on the trading platform, they'll put the gold value 10 times the value of the gold. And the rate of return off the LBMA is about 25% for the life of that gold, as long as it stays in that vault. Global people all over the world, the people that you're selling your gold to cheaply, they're leveraging the value unfortunate that Africa has very limited processing. And that's what needs to happen is you need to process everything in your country before it's exported out of the country. I know Guinea has stopped their bauxite. There's a big push to do processing of bauxite into aluminum. They don't want to send it to India and China anymore for processing. The iron that's being produced in the country, that needs to be processed. Diamond stones, do a gemologist laboratory in the country that's GIA certified, get the people GIA certified. So all those stones get processed in the country, retain as much of the value for what you have in the ground in the country. Don't send it out, don't ship it out, don't sell it to anybody that doesn't have a vested interest in developing your country. I'll get off my
All right, thank you so much. That was really, really elaborate. Thank you so much. So we have another question, Darlington F2. Please unmute and ask your question.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, very well, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. That was very good, and I went through the module on the portal also, and I saw a lot of things. And I was looking at to ask the guy who was talking about opportunities of climate smart agriculture in Liberia, because he said they're doing some projects in Liberia. And looking at smallholder farmers, one of the challenges we face with our agribusiness from production to processing is maybe accessing climate finance. So I was asking which projects or programs are they doing in Liberia that smallholder farmers, they can be able to apply or access those finances that will be able to help them in their agribusiness activities, specifically for Liberia. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Darlington. Ernest, would you want to go ahead? So he is asking, and I'm sure this question is actually relative because you don't stay in Liberia. So he's asking that are there climate opportunities? Though we are having, next week is going to be our session on opportunities in climate smart practices and all that. So if you would wait, Darlington, I think will be the best time to ask for opportunities that can help you with carbon farming, and then to be able to access and know what particular projects you can endorse to be able to make more money as a climate smart person or as a producer. So thank you so much. Ernest, I'm not stopping you from saying, okay, all right, please go ahead.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
will not add a word to what you say.
All right.
Lawrence have mentioned Liberia and his list of countries, and they have a project there. I'll probably let him comment on that. But otherwise, Darlington should wait maybe next week when you guys are going to be discussing investment.
Okay, so now that the baton has been passed to you, Lawrence, would you want to say anything about it since you have a project?
You mentioned Liberia and your country as well, right?
Yes. You are muted.
There you go. The Minister of Livestock and Fisheries, the Minister of Agriculture have funds for some things. The Africa Development Bank has a presence in Liberia, and they're funding some things as well. And so there are some, I don't classify them as climate fund projects, but smallholder farmer incentivized projects with a particular focus around women and youth. Obviously, that's a big focus across Africa. But for workforce development training, bringing on different technologies, support for seeds and fertilizers, those kinds of things. But Liberia's got a lot of fertile soil for at least the first couple crops. Until after you do your first couple harvests, then you'll need fertilizers, unless you're doing good rotation of crops. There's a couple foundations that are supporting with funding in Liberia because the new president He is really doing some good outreach there in the country to help the smallholder farmers. We've been working in geez, I can't remember, off along the coast of the border of Sierra Leone, in that county, Grand Cape Mount. Thank you. Jeez. But there are a number of financiers there that are helping with programs. You just have to reach out to the Minister of Fisheries and Livestock if you're in that business, or if you're in the livestock or the regular agriculture business, the Ministry of Agriculture, and they have outreach for those programs.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I advise that you also check with the desk in Liberia, check the African Development Bank and some of those other offices and see what programs are accessible to you, Darlington. So thank you so much. I wouldn't have more questions, so I would just want to say thank you so that we can get to the next facilitator. And thank you so much, Ernest. Participants, what do you think? I think we should have our photograph now so that Ernest is not missing in it, because I know that when we go to the next speaker, he might want to leave the call. So can we all just put on our videos and then so that we can quickly take the group picture where we have all our facilitators in it, and we don't miss out on anybody because if we want to post this session or this picture on your social media pages. So thank you so much. So I'm sure my colleagues and team members are taking the pictures. So I will just scroll to the next. Some people have still not put on their videos. So thank you so much for everybody that their videos are on. I appreciate this. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. I guess we might have taken all of the pictures. So thank you so much. Thank you, Ernest. Thank you for providing insight. And thank you, Lawrence, for being such a peer educator, because I really appreciate the fact that you contributed and then so many people found your contributions very interesting, and it's so beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so quickly, I want to share my screen again so that I get to introduce the next facilitator. A minute, please. So yeah, so we have our next facilitator as upcoming. Yeah, so I think I have him on my screen now. So the next person is Adeyemi Adetola. Adeyemi Adetola is a certified supply chain international trade professional in supply chain and logistics management, SCLM, and also an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport Nigeria. He is a computer science information systems graduate of Babcock University and started his career in transport logistics with Transport Services Limited, Nigeria, as a logistics coordinator at the Oil and Gas Aviation Fuels Division under the Owando TSL JV operations, managing the fleet distribution and planning of aviation fuel to and across major airport terminals in Nigeria. With supply chain business operations experience spanning over 10 years, Adetola is a solution provider with areas of interest and specialty in supply chain operations, logistic management, strategic partnership development, business development, sales operations and planning, distribution and planning, technology adoption, process development and integration, leadership and coaching development. Adetola possesses strong business strategy and operations execution skill with high proficiency in solving complex business challenges, process realignment and technology adoption. Before now, Adetola worked with Jetstream Africa as manager enterprise sales and account management for the Nigerian market, where he was saddled with end-to-end supply chain customer-facing responsibilities, including strategic stakeholder management and business development. Adetola currently leads business development and partnership as Cessna's Integrated Trade Logistics Limited, an organization with expertise focused on international supply chain and logistics and fleet maintenance management as technology-driven supply chain support services. So thank you so much. I'm sure that we're already giving some virtual claps for Adeyemi Adetola. So please let's give him some cheers so that he comes to talk to us about logistics and distribution. So Adetola, if you are on the call, please over to you. I will just mute myself now.
Thank you so much, Patience, and thank you everyone on the call today. And I think I would like to appreciate Ernest and Lawrence for their insightful contribution thus far to our engagement today. Just to kick off, what I'll be speaking on is not about logistics and distribution per se, rather we're focusing on the mitigation and adoption strategies when it comes to climate change and how that impacts logistics and distribution as a whole. Well, you need to pardon me. I was actually preparing to come share a slide before, and I got some sort of instruction to say maybe it's just going to be a 10-minute chit chat, that my slides might not really be necessary. As a reason why I had to slow down on that, and I'm not here to present any slide to engage us today. However, I'm going to work on some slides after this session that I will share with the organizers that they can still upload on the portal for everyone to have access to. So thank you once again. Having said that, I'm just going to I would like to highlight what exactly do we understand by mitigation and adoption. And just like Ernest earlier said, I'm just going to be piggybacking on some of the points he had made earlier. You know, mitigation is something that you do to avoid some adverse effects of an event. And when you talk about adoption or adaptation, those are the things that happen when something had already happened and you are now just trying to manage the event from that instance going forward. So, you know, and like we said, the logistics and supply chain, everything that we do within the logistics and supply chain and distribution space, one way or the other, you know, have some impact on climate in itself. And climate change is real, either we like it or not, it is real. I mean, few decades ago, I mean, with my little knowledge in Nigeria, growing up, most of the seasons that we can easily identify as a child is when you say raining season and dry season. And I want to believe that actually cuts across some other parts of Africa as well. When you know that from February down to like end of August and early September, you have some higher percentage of rainfalls within the year. Then from October down to January, you have the larger part of those periods with a very harsh dry weather. And in Nigeria, that's when even Harmattan comes into being. So in a case of, you know, logistics and distribution, we're now looking at some of the things that we can do to avoid issues from happening to affect our logistics operations and distributions, as it were, depending on any kind of product, either agricultural products that we are producing and distributing, or they're just finished goods that we are distributing for other last mile consumption, as the case may be. So adapting, I'll just try to read some of the things that I penned down on my notes here. So adapting logistics and distribution systems to climate change involves preparing and responding to its impact in our lives. You know, while mitigation in itself focuses on reducing the contribution of these systems to climate change. And some of the strategies for this, I'm going to be listing about 6 of it to us right now. One, I will start with supply chain diversification. And what that means really is, for us as individuals and organizations, we really need to learn to diversify our supply chain processes, and that will help us build resilience in our supply chain. And in practical terms, what that is saying is that we need to look inwards of our supply chain processes to identify where we have major suppliers and minor suppliers to some of the resources that we're using for our production or for our product distribution in itself. And when we identify all of the key stakeholders on our supply chain or distribution nodes, we need to now know that we need to identify the ones that are key to us and that we can have close alternatives to. Because I would like to use a case in point, when COVID happened, lots of supply chain organizations were highly impacted. And this is because most people had not thought through what other alternative they can have to some of their supplier that is supplying them some form of resources to their production pipeline. And immediately COVID happened, that it started from China. A lot of organizations that were heavily reliant on supplies coming in from China were highly impacted because, production from the factories that is going to supply you have been shut down. Then what happens to you if you do not have a large stock of inventory that can keep you till maybe 6 months to a year? Then your production is definitely going to go down. And we know that in supply chain in itself, it's a high risk it's a huge financial risk for you to even keep that large amount of inventory, because in supply chain, as you're thinking about your inventory, you're thinking about the money that is being tied down as holding cost for your inventory. So many organizations will not have invested that much into keeping inventory because of the holding cost, and what happens to it if it gets to be obsolete within the time frame that you're holding it. So one of this strategy, to adapt effectively to climate change is for you to rework your distribution network, rethink your supply chain, your entire supply chain network, to make sure that you're identifying the key stakeholders that you are working with per time, and think through the ones that you can have close alternatives to locally if you are heavily reliant on supply chain from your supplier supplying you things or resources from abroad. And that takes me to my next point, which is risk assessment and management. One of the things that is quite eminent for us to do every day as business owners or entrepreneurs or even smart employees is for us to always, think through operations with an eye of risk assessment. And that is just so that, this conversation too is a part of risk assessment, because we're looking at how supply chain is impacting logistics and distribution. And for every time that you think through anything with a high of risk, it gives you, it keeps you on the edge, and it gives you an advantage to look through things. And, by so doing, you are able to innovate, and you are able to stop some things from happening to your supply chain or to your distribution and logistics operations per time. So conduct a thorough risk assessment to identify the climate change related vulnerabilities in your supply chain, and develop a contingency plan. And contingency plan is not just for your logistics and distribution alone. It's actually for your entire supply chain or your entire operations within your organization. That's what that is actually speaking to. Because in supply chain, we say that you are strong as your weakest link. And everything in supply chain that we do in supply chain, we ensure that we avoid every node from working individually or working in silos. It is when things work together, when you work together from all of the units in your supply chain, or all of the units or departments in your organization, if everyone is working together, then you're able to have a synergized operation. You're able to have a seamless and almost a flawless supply chain operations, and that will impact largely on how your distribution and your logistics planning and operations and execution is actually going to go at the long run. My next point is now technology integration. Technology integration is very key to our lives right now, because technology is the flywheel that actually helps grow your business exponentially. If we are on this call and you've not been learning new technology skills, you are not learning how to use simple technology tools to enhance productivity within your business, I think it's something that you need to start rethinking. And you don't even have to learn advanced technology for you to, make technology work for you, either as an individual or as a small business owner. I mean, just WhatsApp alone, we all would testify to how WhatsApp has actually changed the way we communicate and the way we do business. WhatsApp has empowered a whole lot of small older farmers and small SME entrepreneurs just by having WhatsApp groups where they have a lot of trading that goes on, within that same platform. That's the usage of technology, and that's technology integration to whatever business you might have used or you can use WhatsApp for in that sense. And if your organization or your business, as your business scales or grows, then you think through other technology, other advanced technology tools that you can adopt and integrate into your operation that would help, give you seamless operations and give you exponential growth to your business. The next mitigation point will now be collaboration and partnerships. I mean, I, for one of the things that, got me to this call to be a facilitator is a result of collaboration and partnership. And we can't overemphasize that enough. For us to grow and in the next decade of businesses, most of the things that we're going to do to give us the results that our business needs lies in collaboration and partnership. And we need to always think through this time and time and again. Like Lawrence shared earlier on the call, he had said a whole lot of things about some of the projects his organizations and is doing in some part of Africa, and as he was speaking, at the back of my mind, I was thinking, I mean, what are the things that they're doing that my business might need, or what are the things that my business is doing that his business might need that we can actually collaborate on, and to see how growth can be beneficial and mutual to both of us. So as for everyone on this call, one of the mitigation strategy that you need to start thinking about for the impact of climate change in your business or for your life as an individual is how you can collaborate with other people that do not have the strength that you have within your business that can complement and help with your business growth per time. So collaborate with suppliers. You need to learn collaboration with your suppliers. You need to learn collaborations with your transport service providers. You need to learn collaboration with every form of stakeholders that you have identified within your supply chain operations or within your operations as an organization, either as a small business owner, or you are a small farm operator. So you need to learn collaboration. You need to look out for partnership opportunities, and that will enhance the information that you are sharing and information that has been, given to you as well. And you can also, look out for ways where you can share risk within your operation or within your business engagement. And a typical example I would like to use for that will be, for example, there's what we call less than truckload and full truckload. It's a term used in logistics and transportation. And what that means basically is if I have a truck that is moving from Lagos to Abuja or Lagos to Ghana, and I do not have the entire full capacity load for that truck, I can look out for other small business owners that wants to move something from Lagos to Ghana, or from a commodity from Lagos to Abuja, that we can share the space within that truck together. And by so doing, we are reducing the cost of transportation for each and every one of us, instead of one person just using that single truck with it not being optimized to capacity. So you have shared the cost of transportation, and you have also shared the cost of risk and insurance on that cargo moving from point A to point B. So for everyone on the call, you need to always, look through these strategies to think through how you can, share risk within your business, share risk within your supply chain. And the next point, which is my fifth point, would be your inventory optimization. How are you thinking through your stock holding? How are you thinking through your resource management within your business? And implementing a dynamic inventory management system can help you adapt to the shifting demands and patterns for that in the climate change might impact within your business. So, like I said earlier, you don't have to use heavy or an advanced technology to help, start learning or adopting technology use within your business. For inventory management, a simple Excel or Google Doc, Google Sheet can help you with a very refined template, can help you manage your inventory per time, and you can see things real time on your dashboard. A single Google form can help implement seamless communication with your ordering system from between yourself or your supplier, and your own buyers, the people you're supplying your commodities to. So just coming up with a small Google form for people to make orders for some of the things that you're going to be selling, and you as well, having a small slide, a small form to manage all of the things that you have put out there to distribute to your customers. We just help you manage some of this meaningful business engagement that you're doing. And the last of the adaptation strategy will now be your transportation flexibility, which is the sixth one. And maintaining a flexible transportation option to route or reroute your shipments in response to weather-related disruptions. So, like I said earlier, piggybacking on what I said about COVID, when you bring it down locally to your experience when COVID happened, for some organizations, they couldn't, almost everybody had to start working remotely. But then for logistics and supply chain professionals, that's when their own job really started the most, because they need to ensure that medical supplies are moving from point A to point B. They need to ensure that food are still moving from point A to point B. They need to ensure that all of the other essentials that we need as humans to live our lives normally, even when COVID happened, still happened, and logistics and supply chain professionals were still actively engaged, and they were part of the people that were classified as essential workers, apart from the medical professionals. So logistics and supply chain professionals are still essential to us, and they were the ones that were really critical to the movement of food items, movement of medical supplies. And for us as individuals, as you're thinking through your business operations as well, you need to start thinking through okay, what happens if something happened today to my business, in the economy, that would impact my business with my distribution and logistics strategy? How do I reroute my vehicles, or how do I reroute my cargo to still ensure that my customers that are waiting for my order still gets it, in spite of the disruptions that you're having within your economy? Joseph, you have a question? Okay, I'll just go on to the mitigation strategies now. For the mitigation strategies, I have 6 as well, just so that we have a balanced perspective for this. Earlier, I've given us 5 adoption strategies. Now I'm moving on to the mitigation strategies. Mitigation strategies, I would like to start with energy efficient operation. And it was Lawrence that was speaking and asking questions about energy earlier on the call today. So within our logistics and distribution operations, we need to rethink how we are consuming energy. We need to ensure that all of our operational activities are energy efficient. So improve energy efficiency in our warehouses and distribution centers through LED lighting, efficient HVAC system, and other form of insulation will be very, very important for us to do right now. And let me just explain some of those things. Some of us right now, before now, I think about 15, 20 years ago, lighting in our houses would majorly be by fluorescent bulbs. But then with the advanced and innovation technology for lighting, we can see that we now have energy efficient or energy saver bulbs that are very bright, but then they consume very low power. And those are the kind of ways that we need to start rethinking when we are building our warehouses, when we are building our offices. What kind of lighting channels do we want to have? So we need to start thinking about energy efficient solutions. LED lighting is an option for us. In terms of the cooling systems, for our offices, for our homes, for our warehouses, what kind of HVAC system or air conditioning systems are we using? Are we using the low energy inverter equipment, or are we using the high energy inverter are we using the high energy equipment that consumes lots of energy that impact on our energy consumption cost? And in terms of insulation, when we're building as well, we need to think through insulation materials that can help, insulate the building properly with the right atmospheric condition that we need per time. Then number two strategy would be us having a green transport mode. And everybody is talking about green right now, green initiative, green strategy. The thing, and this is one of the reasons why we have electric vehicles right now in the world, and it's because everyone is really concerned about the reduction of carbon footprint on everything that we do. So we need to start thinking through how we need on how our transportation modes have to run. So now there's a whole lot of things going on within the transportation industry about, piloting. Electric vehicles at some point were all in the pilots. Now it has come mainstream. We already have electric vehicles moving both for passenger vehicles and heavy-duty articulated vehicles. Now we're thinking through shipping. When shipping, what's it called now? The shipping vessels are one of the transportation equipment that consumes lots of fossil fuel. And now there are lots of organizations that are putting lots of investment and research into having alternative source of fueling for all of our ships. And I think there are some that have started running on hydrogen as of now, and there's some that have started running on some sort of, I think, ethanol as well, instead of burning on fossil fuel. So this is some of the ways that we need to start thinking as individuals and as business owners to start rethinking how we can have green energy modes within our businesses. My next point will now be optimizing our routing plan for transportation. And that means if we have not been focusing on the mileages that we're using for our distribution and logistics for our product, we need to start thinking through that right now, that if we are in today's world, how many kilometers or what is the average mileage cost for my business to achieve and optimized distribution system for my business for whatever I'm selling, from my farm to the warehouse, or from my farm to my last mile consumer. We need to start thinking through that. If the cost is on the high side, we need to start thinking through how can I collaborate with all other people that are distributing things same or similar to mine, working through same pathway or same route, that we can share this cost together by sharing the same vehicle at per time for our distribution. So that reduces the cost of our distribution, and that reduces our own individual carbon footprint in the world with our logistics operations. And another, still focused on transportation, will be reverse logistics. A whole lot of vehicles run empty mile, and this is because by the time they move from point A to point B, they do not have a cargo point to load back from B back to A. And that will impact on the customer's cost, whoever is hiring that vehicle for distribution at that time, because the driver or the truck owner would have charged you twice the cost of just one mile or one major run from point A to point B. They would have charged you both for point A to point B and point B back to A. But if we're ensuring that when a truck moves from point A to point B, by the time the truck offloads at point B, there's another cargo the truck is loading back to point A on that same route, it will reduce the cost of our transportation per time. And one of the next, and that leads me to the next mitigation strategy, which is packaging innovation. There's a lot of waste challenges from plastic bags that we use today, plastic bags, plastic bottles, and any form of plastic packaging that we have. So are we rethinking our packaging strategy and our packaging distribution, the packaging of our items to be distributed, to rethink the way they are being branded to using biodegradable materials? Now, before now, a lot of people or a lot of eateries in Nigeria, we have them use plastic packaging for their takeout food. But now we are seeing a whole lot of innovation being adopted with paper food packaging, where, I mean, we have paper plates right now, we have paper cups, and these are biodegradable materials that they cost little or no harm to our environment, unlike the plastic bags and plastic bottles that we use a lot today that we have issues with them because of their nature. They are not biodegradable, they do not decompose, and we have to pack them to use them for landfills, the long run and all of that. So we need to start thinking through the kind of packaging we are using to package or brand products that are ready for distribution at any point in time. And that leads me to my last point, which is our carbon offsetting. So a lot of people might not have been doing this, but this is something that we need to start thinking through. We need to start investing in carbon offsetting programs to neutralize unavoidable emissions from our logistics and distribution operations. And in conclusion, I would just like to say that to us, we need to have an integrated approach for all of the things that we do within logistics and distribution operations right now, to make sure that we are integrating both the adaptation strategy and the mitigation strategy all together. And combining the adaptation and the mitigation strategies ensures a comprehensive approach to climate resilience in logistics and distribution by enhancing resilience against climate impact and simultaneously reducing our carbon footprints, either in our businesses. And our businesses can build robust and sustainable supply chains capable of thriving in a changing climate per time. Effective adaptation and mitigation strategies not only mitigate risk, but also opens us up to opportunity for innovation, cost savings with our bottom line, and enhanced reputation in an increasingly climate-conscious marketplace. With these few words of mine, I hope I've been able to, impact you with the knowledge on the right mitigation and adaptation strategies for climate change within your logistics and supply chain operations. I think it's time for questions.
Yeah, yes. Thank you so much, Adetola. Thank you so much. That was really elaborate. Thank you so much. So if I had said 20 minutes, you would have done 1 hour. Anyways, that's actually very great. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. We appreciate you so much. Thank you. I like the fact that you decided to distinguish and you talked about adaptation strategies and then the mitigation strategies all differently. Thank you so much. Let's quickly move to questions. Joseph Katiko, you'll be raising your hands for only God knows how long. All right. Please go ahead and ask your questions. I'm asking you to unmute already.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud.
Yeah, mine is, I'm from Kenya. And mine was about can contract farming be one of the mitigation? not mitigation, but adaptation strategies that we can follow in processing and logistics.
Did you say contract farming?
Yes, contract farming.
Okay.
Such,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, contract farming can be a mitigation and adaptation strategy, but it has to be focused on crop rotation, because we all know that one of the things that improve crop production yield is when you have effective rotation cycle on the farmland that you're using per time. And if you are not going to be using fertilizers that are not so what's it called now, produced with some harmful chemicals and all of that, you need to learn to use contract farming, but then focused on adequate crop rotation. I hope I'm able to answer your question.
Yeah, but not. I was thinking it in this perspective. Hello.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was seeing it in this perspective, such that in this issue of I saw it as one of the collaboration measures, such that you can do contract farming with you collaborate with the companies that might purchase your produce. Then that once these products will not produce or will not emit some waste to the environment, like the greenhouse gases that come from the rotten or decaying farm produce. Thank you.
Oh, yes. I mean, thanks for that contribution. So that is one deployment of contract farming, and that in itself is you having an assured market for your produce, so that at every point in time when you are producing, you already know you have a solid off-taker that picks up all of the produce on the farm and reduces your post-harvest wastages. So that's a good strategy for collaboration as well. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Adeyemi. Thank you, Joseph. So I was actually going to even still contribute on this and say that yes, it's actually a very big measure, because the fact that you have your off-takers ready before you're able to finish your production or whatever it is that you're doing helps to really help you to mitigate against some of these changes, some of these difference in environments that might eventually come in. So thank you very much, Adeyemi, for that contribution. Adeyemi, Adetola. So just take any of them. Anytime I call you Adetola or I call you Adeyemi, they have saying the same thing.
It's fine, it's fine.
All right, thank you so much. So we'll just quickly go to the next person. Chioma has a question. So I'm asking you to unmute so that you can ask your question.
Okay,
yeah,
thank
Chioma.
you so much.
You're welcome.
My question is on collaboration for logistics. Okay, so when we have less than a truckload, we normally use some companies that are shipping products to the same destination, or they have vehicles going to different locations. But most of these people that do the distribution are untrained, leading to a lot of losses. Like you send goods and then they don't handle it well, and it gets to your distributor in a form that cannot be sold. What do you advise concerning this? I mean, most of the people in this logistics and distribution are untrained people. So you find out doing business with them is challenging. I sent some goods recently and it was eaten up from their warehouse by rodents. So in that state, we cannot sell this thing. But I know that if I hired a vehicle on my own, and it gets to that customer, there is no way they have such issues. My second question is, which company do you recommend for movement of goods across Africa that is affordable and they also have good handling? Movement of goods across African countries. Thank you.
So thank you, Choma. And I mean, one of the concerns that you've raised with the first one, it's actually an industry-wide challenge. However, one of the things that I would advise to do is, as small business owners, most of the time, we always neglect the legal aspect of our business. And what I mean is, if you're going to, I don't know what you do, I don't know what kind of things that you sell, but if I'm able to,
Food.
maybe I should start food
Yes.
produce, raw food
Processed
produce.
and packaged food, yes.
Okay,
Processed and packaged.
okay, nice. So one of the things that you need to have, and is also a mitigation and adaptation strategy as well, is that you need to have signed SLAs within your business with all of your business partners. If you have a company that you've always engaged, I mean, that you are going to be engaging for transporting your produce from point A to point B, you need to get into some sort of legal agreement with them to say, due to the nature of your business, you ship so and so, let's say a 150 metric tons of food volumes quarterly from either Lagos to Abuja or Lagos to Kano. And because of this high volume, you would like to partner with their company, and because it's a regular business for them coming from you. And with the volume, you are able to negotiate, one, a reduced transport rates. Two, you get into contracts with them that will ensure that whenever your items are damaged, there's some sort of risk and reward that comes to you. So from them, they need to pay for it. They need to give you some sort of assurance in adequate and professional material handling from point A, from when you drop the cargo to their at their warehouse to when it gets to your customer. Because at the end of the day, if your produce are being damaged while in transit, it's an huge impact cost on your own business and with your brand reputation with your clients as well, because you can't sell them something that you cannot buy yourself. So that's one. And make sure that you have SLA agreements, that all of the what's it called now, responsibilities for both parties would be clearly stated. And whenever things happen, you can always owe them by that SLA. Another is to ensure that any transport company you are going to be engaging, make sure that they have what they call goods in transit insurance. So in case there's an accident whatsoever, there's an insurance claims that you can make with the company from their insurance partner. That's number two. Then when it comes to movement of cargo across Africa, I can't really tell you that a particular company is the best as of now until I'm able to have like a one-on-one engagement with you to understand how your business actually operates. Then I'm able to give you, some expert advice that, okay, I think you can use this organization or you can use this organization.
Okay, thank you so much for your response. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Adeyemi, for that answer. Thank you so much. So that's actually very important in business, that whoever you're partnering with, they are able to take responsibility as much as you take responsibility as well. So that's very, very important. And then that leads me to saying that there is a program that African Food Changemakers is going to be organizing, and it's almost like Grace, but it's going to be on export. So those of you that that are interested in export and all of that. When that time comes, definitely we'll let you know so that you can also apply for it. So the next question is from James Agua. I'm asking you to unmute James so that you can ask your question. James, are you there?
Thank you so much. My question is pretty almost similar to. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Yes, my question is pretty similar or close to the one asked by Chioma. However, is different in this manner. One of the challenges that we are facing with transportation is that for the for the transportation for foodstuff, these trucks has to be licensed for carrying foodstuff only, and this makes it difficult to transport on their way back or to carry something else which is not foodstuff. And again, in most cases, area where we're coming from, not so many foodstuff business people are there. So it means sometimes trucks have to go empty. And how do we go about fixing this problem? Because the trucks are licensed to carry foodstuff only, which makes forbid them for carrying anything than foodstuff from coming back or going the same direction.
I understand you perfectly. And one thing that I think I would like to advise you on is, first off, to find all of this that you either hire trucks to transport just food stuff per time alone, identify in your region, identify similar people that might be at different journey you most travel or your most when you identify, when you engage, you can, by the time you start engaging people, that you'll find out that there are lots of people at the other end of the spectrum where the trucks are having this final delivery that needs to move over them or the other down back to where they loaded. I mean, experience in logistics, moving food items. A typical example for in Lagos, you can move just flour from Lagos down to places like Kano, Abuja, Kaduna, and is raw maize, which is still food items, is moving things like soybean, is moving sesame seed, moving yam, potatoes, down back to Lagos for productive factories and for some direct to the market for direct consumption for households. So start engaging people. The power in collaboration. By the time you engage people within your space, ask questions, and you will start seeing opportunity for collaboration, and you can innovate your processes from there.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Adeyemi. Joseph Katiko. All right, I think that's the last question for today. So quickly unmute and ask a question. I will not call you again after now. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello?
Absolutely.
I can hear you clearly.
I have a concern, and my concern is the cooperative farming is an adaptation measure such that once these farmers can get into a cooperative, they can have the bargaining power. They can also have a promising margin, and also their products can be transported when time comes for transportation, such that the off-taker will have to come and take all the produce from the cooperative store or warehouse. The other thing about this is hello.
Please go on. We can hear you. Go ahead. Yeah. Hello, Joseph. We can hear you.
Yeah, I think there is a network hitch. Yeah? That's the problem.
Yeah, but we
So
can hear you
I
clearly.
wanted this to be elaborated. Can cooperative farming also be one of the adaptation measures when it comes to logistics and transportation?
Absolutely.
But
Because
okay.
one of the things that you're doing is you are collaborating with farmers that you are in it. You are in a like organization together. You are in the same organization together. So all you need to do now is to ensure all of the other people that are producing either the similar kind of product or the, let's say, potato farm in your association in, let's say, what country are you called from? Kenya, right?
Yeah. What about hello?
Did you hear my question? Are you
Yeah.
called Kenya?
What about
you
doing
need to
market?
identify for
What about
example, I was just trying to finish up. Relax. So when you have when you have farmers in a cooperative, by the time you have your harvest that is out and you do not have individual off-takers, the cooperative of the farmers, you can go to an organization, a huge flour milling company that buy potatoes for the production of baking baking flours or for the production of pastas, So instead of going as an individual farmer, you have the power of negotiation where you go as a group, as an association, and you can negotiate your transport cost and even the final cost of sale to the manufacturer, which is the off-taker. Instead of you going individual, you have the power of negotiation, you go as an association.
Yeah, like in Kenya, some of the farmers have been doing market research. They come into cooperative, they do market research, then they venture into a business or a farming enterprise that they will produce when it's peak time. Like right now in Kenya, the cost of onion is high. Farmers are coming together in cooperative, then they produce. Then you find the off-takers are taking the onions from the farm. No cost of transportation. That I think can solve one of the problems when it comes to transportation and logistics.
Absolutely, that's a fantastic move by the there. If you can do more of that.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Adeyemi. Thank you so much for making yourself available, Adeyemi. This is really, really great, and we appreciate it. We appreciate the fact that you waited to take all the questions and answer all of them. Thank you so much. This is very important.